Nagilum wants Captain Picard to demonstrate how propagation is accomplished. The crew of the Enterprise meets a new creature and enters it. And Commander Riker shows off his pole dancing skills. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc freaking Lofton.
His pole dancing skills. All right.
He did it. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode 2, where Silence Has Lease, written by Jack B. Sowards, directed by, you know him well, Weinrich Colby. This was November 28th, 1988, long time ago. Where were you? Also, very quickly, before we get too deep into this, please be sure you are a patron of The Seventh Rule. Go over to patreon.com/The Seventh Rule. For just $1 a month, you can become a patron and get all kinds of goodies. The tiers go up from $1 to $5, all the way up as high as you want, honestly. And we've got great benefits there. We really appreciate it. So please do that. Please also make sure you are liked and subscribed to this channel. Give us a 5-star rating if you're listening in. And share this video wherever you can. That helps us a ton, since we don't have much of a marketing department. We've had to lay off like 70% of our
staff, yeah.
of our 100. Anyway, thanks. We really appreciate that. How you doing today, Cirroc?
Doing great. Doing great. You said written by Jack B.
Sowards. It's either Sowards or Sowards, but I think it's Sowards. Sowards.
Okay.
I think that's the only time I've ever seen that name. Let's check.
Yeah. First time I've heard it. Sowards.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay. He also, wow, this is a big one. I did not realize this. He was also a co-writer on a little movie known as Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
What? That's a pretty good one.
Yeah. So he is royalty, Star Trek royalty. Let's see. He did that. Did he do anything else? Nope, just that and the one Next Generation episode. And a bunch of other things like TJ Hooker and
he just wrote The Wrath of Khan, nothing big.
Pretty amazing.
Jeez, that's literally my favorite Star Trek movie that has permanently been etched in my head. Would I believe the best villain in the history of Star Trek?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In Khan.
Most people will name The Wrath of Khan or First Contact as their favorite movie. But lately, what's been coming up is people saying Star Trek 4, the one with whales. Suddenly, that's been coming up lately as people's favorites. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that one. It's pretty good. It's interesting, and it keeps your attention the whole time. It's just not not as great to me as Khan. Is just such a good villain, and those scenes in that movie are like permanently etched in everyone's head, especially the ear scene. So I'll never get over that scene. I still, have fears of that stuff crawling in my ear at night or something.
Did you see it when you were a kid?
I did.
Me too. And then that image just stuck in your head as a child. That's all you remember.
I don't remember Spock. I don't remember Kirk. I don't remember any of the Star Trek actors. I only remember Khan putting that thing in somebody's ear, and I was like, "Oh God, no, this is terrible."
That claymation, the sounds.
Yeah, it was the worst thing ever. So, he's got to be up there. But yeah, hats off to Jack Sowards.
Yeah,
this one's a pretty interesting episode too. I mean, this is not the Wrath of Khan, but it's got its moments.
Yeah, this one definitely feels like, and I'm pretty sure it's got to be. Remember last week we had kind of a holdover from the original series script, and the writers were on strike, and so they kind of just grabbed an old, because this does feel like it could have very easily been an original series script, and that's not a knock.
Yes.
It just feels like that's what this is. It feels like you could very easily have had Captain Kirk talking. You got Captain Pulaski or Catherine Pulaski, I should say, doing the McCoy role of being kind of grumpy and tossed around. So I could definitely see it.
Oh yeah. Dr. Pulaski, that's her name.
I was wondering, I'm like, he's gonna go like 15 episodes, still wait, be like, all right, she's been here. I might as well learn her name.
I got to write it down. Dr. Pulaski. Okay, that's
Catherine Pulaski. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. She hasn't gotten jumped out at me yet. I don't know what it is. And actually, that was part of my, critique from this episode. Not necessarily critique, but just observation. And one of the things that I look at is how they intend to frame Picard. So to me, everything is about framing Picard, your leader, in the best light as possible. And that's pretty much how leaders around the world, use the press and use, storylines are built around their uplifting in the most part, right? So it's about framing narratives. And so for me, I look at Picard and I'm like, what kind of narratives are they framing, or how are they trying to counteract certain aspects of what they've already built into his character profile? And one of those things that I think about is how grumpy he is in the first season. I think that was probably something that people wrote down as a note, and the higher ups, whoever it is, maybe the feedback from the audience, that he was a little bit of a grump, oh, the boy, and always kind of sour face about things a little bit. And it is my belief, I have nothing to back this up except my own observation, that this Pulaski character,
Pulaski, I love it.
yeah, Dr. Pulaski is a bit of a curmudgeon.
I feel like she's Bones. She's Dr. McCoy reskinned, right?
Right. And in that way, I believe that is inserted for the purpose of making Picard look less of a curmudgeon by offsetting him with somebody who's even more rude or socially awkward when it comes to conversation. She's very offensive to Data, for example. Like, this is multiple times
from the get-go. And she's calling him a machine. And that's very similar to Dr. McCoy was straight up bigoted towards Spock. He'd be like, you green-blooded hobgoblin. And we'd laugh it off. Oh, he's so racist against Spock. Isn't that funny, tee-hee? And so now she's doing that a little softer, not quite as, she's not like really calling him names. But
it's not that soft.
Right, but she's calling him an it. She's going like, well, I guess I'm going to have
non-living devices. I'm not used to working with non-living devices. She called him a device.
Yeah. She might as well. And she called him data. Rude.
She's basically condescending when it comes to certain characters, right? And that kind of rough approach is why I haven't really accepted her yet, because she's been too abrasive for me. Especially for somebody coming on to a new scene. You try to fit in, you try to like get along with people. You do your best to ease your way into the mix before you start revealing that you're a BITC. And so what I think is she needs
Bitcoin?
To be a lot Bitcoin, yes. She needs to be a lot less offensive in my opinion. And that's why I'm, extremely rude to Data. The way she's like, oh, I should, she's almost isolating herself when talking to Picard when she says, wow, I picked the wrong ship to get on or something to that effect, right?
No, he's probably thinking, he's probably like, agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Bye.
Mr. Nagilum, you can start with her.
Yeah. We have a volunteer.
Yes. So I think there was an aspect of that there, so that's why in the beginning, this character, as hard as I'm trying to like, now there's aspects that I do like. There were moments there in the first episode where the doctor was extremely caring toward the patient. And I think in a patient capacity, she's performing well because I like the way she interacted with the patient in the previous episode. I thought that was good. But when it comes to interacting with the other crew members, no.
No, great. She doesn't have the best team-oriented personality.
And I think it's done for the purpose of making Picard look better.
Or even if they were
less,
were trying to soften him already, and so they felt like they needed to kind of replace that space with something, maybe go back to the Kirk, Spock, and Bones formula, where Data is the Spock, she would be the Bones. They kind of would have that triumvirate. But I'll tell you, I really don't remember well these first couple seasons. I remember not really liking the first couple seasons when I watched this as a kid, and it really kind of started to get better, towards the end of season 2 and into season 3. So a lot of these episodes, I feel like I'm watching them for the first time. This one, I feel like I've seen it before, but I don't really recall anything other than 2 things: that funny face, the alien face, and our boy Haskell, who's named after a street that I live right next to, Haskell Avenue, in the Valley of Los Angeles. He, first of all, when Pulaski does her pirouettes, that's hysterical. She's doing her ballet. Yeah. But then this Haskell guy, you wonder, where the heck did Wes go? How come this guy is replacing Wesley Crusher? Crusher was on the bridge right there. He's gone. Suddenly this new Haskell guy is getting all of his lines. We find out afterwards because they had to kill someone, and he's gone. And Wes is
that
right
was the
back.
Black dude's name?
Yeah, Haskell. And then Wes is right back in his chair once the guy's dead. But the point is that Haskell has been turned into one of the most famous Star Trek GIFs when he goes like, "Whoa!" So if you see that moment of him acting the hell out of that role, doing this thing, there's people use that GIF if you're shocked by something or whatever. So that's all I remember. But I will say that I do remember being disappointed when Pulaski replaced Crusher. I was just like, who is this? I was a pretty judgmental little shit, lots changed. And, but I will say, I think that what they're doing is, like with everything, they start somebody off gruff so that they can give them the arc of warming up a bit, hopefully. But I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah, you know what? Now I know how the audience felt, when Dax was replaced. It's just like when you see somebody that you're attached to, and this is happening earlier. So, I mean, you have more attachment to Dax. Obviously, this is season 6 by the time she gets replaced. But then you also got to see her storylines fleshed out. So it was okay to some degree a little bit. The fact that Dr. Crusher is X'd out in this beginning of second season is weird to me. This introduction to the new character who basically comes in like Shaw. Yeah. Almost like this, like the Captain Shaw introduction to a character, just give everybody shit. And I feel like that's not rubbing off on me right in this particular moment. So I'm trying to give her a chance. Like I said, I like her as a doctor, but I want Crusher back. And it's also Wesley's mom. It's weird that
it's a weird fit. Yeah.
His mom's not there.
And he's staying, and she's like, yeah, sure. No problem. Cool. And we're like, hang on a second. So the one thing we didn't like about Beverly Crusher, she's smart. She's cool. Gates McFadden has amazing physical acting talents and acumen, the way she could do we've seen her physical acting skill. One thing we didn't like about her was she had to bring on her little shit kid. Picard didn't like it. And then she's like, stays. I'm out of here. And Picard's like, wait, hang on a second.
I'm not babysitting.
The woman I'm in love with is leaving. But she's leaving the kid that I'm in hate with. What kind of, this is the worst deal ever. He should be like, no, take your kid with you. But whatever, they make it work. Real quick, here is the GIF that everybody loves to use. It's, of course, our good buddy Haskell doing his mind zapped thing. It's pretty impressive. Now, you'll also notice how little...
He juiced his moment, too, by the way. Talk about making the most out of your moment.
That's why he became a GIF. The people that really give you extra are the ones that end up being immortalized forever, like Senator Vreenak, the Romulan that in the Pale Moonlight on Deep Space Nine, who said, "It's a fake," right? That guy, he could have just said, "It's a fake." But now he's a meme. He's a GIF. He's an everything. Same thing with Captain Kirk saying, "Khan." These are the things that when somebody gives you extra, you remember it forever.
Yeah, it becomes GIF Gold.
GIF Goldblum.
I noticed this episode opened without a captain's log. That was just something that popped out to me. I'm almost expecting captain logs at this point, and to not have one in the beginning was kind of strange to me. And we get Troy back. So, Troy wasn't in the last episode, if I'm not mistaken. Was she? No, I don't think she was. They had Guinan was in there. I don't remember Troy being there.
I don't remember. I feel like if she may have just been sitting there quietly. But I have been thinking about that these last couple episodes, where with Guinan showing up being a listener, they really need to hone their writing for Troy, or she's going to very quickly become a useless character. This time they were able to implement her well, but
not really, because I thought
than it could have been.
I thought what Eve England called her Captain Obvious, and I thought that was the
Counselor Obvious.
Yes, Counselor Obvious. And yes, that's exactly how she opened up. This scene opened up. She's like, "Captain, I sense you're worried," and it's like he's walking around like biting his nails. And
that's the biggest joke about her, is that Captain Picard will be like, "I don't give a damn what you're doing. I want you to fire your phasers right now." And she'll be like, "Captain, I sense you're angry." It's like, are you kidding me right now? What tipped you off? My red face.
I'm waiting for a no shit from Captain Picard. Like, no shit.
But then anytime we need something,
Counselor.
anytime we need something, he's like, "Counselor, can you?" And she's like, "Oh no, too much interference," or "Oh no, it's too much of a." Then what? The only thing she can tell us is what's obvious, and that's why I'm saying they really need to hone what they write with her, because she could be such a useful writing tool.
I don't sense a presence anymore. None of us do. The guy's gone.
It's gone. Yep, there's 20 seconds left in the episode, bro. We're done.
There's a countdown, literally a 10-second countdown. You can't send them. Like, I don't know. It's just like she says so many obvious things, and it's like, if your skill set is to point out obvious things, then that doesn't really work for us. You need to be able to tell us what your face expression is not saying, so you have to be like a lie detector almost for, people's emotions. And so that they're putting on this emotion, and you really know that it's something the opposite. Not what we're just, what's on its plain face. That's $100 bill. Yes, it's $100 bill. At least it has 100 written on it. That's Benjamin Franklin's face.
She's counselor exposition, but they have used that a few times, because the thing is, if she can read minds perfectly, it ends the story. So they'll do what you say halfway. She'll say, "Captain, he's lying, but I can't tell about what yet." So we know, okay.
I get that.
And that works. Yeah.
That works for me. Because then you're the lie detector test.
Yes.
But, it's like, you see somebody swerving in a car, they get out of the car, they're stumbling drunk, and you're like, "I sensed you're drunk." Like, yeah, I smell alcohol. Yeah. Okay. It's obvious. The guy's, he can't even stand up. So, pointing that out is not really it's not a special skill set.
Yeah, because they're trying to figure out a way to make her useful and involved on the bridge, which is a tough task and a difficult position for Marina Sirtis, the actress, to be in, because she doesn't want to just be Captain Obvious forever. She's even gone on record, I'm sure, saying something to that effect. But what I would have liked to see them do, and maybe we'll see it, further down the line, is make her more of not just a therapist, but make her more of like a diplomat, an ambassador, because she talks to people well, she understands people well, sometimes taking over the conversation for Picard. When we're meeting a new race, let Troy handle it. She can read the person and react immediately to the information she's receiving,
Yeah.
And Picard can kind of nudge her and be like, can we get them to stand down? And she'll be like, okay. And so she'll, almost like she should be handling a lot of the diplomacy arm in arm with Picard based on, the circumstance.
Yes. And also used as a tool to get to know background for other characters. So there should be moments when Riker has a therapy session with her and says, I'm stressed out about this, that, or the other. Or,
and we will see that.
Yeah, and multiple times checking in with other characters about their personal, issues. Obviously, everybody has left some kind of family behind for the most part. Not everybody, but most part. And there's issues with that. There's issues with not being on Earth or whatever kinds of, anxiety you have about being aboard a spaceship for long periods of time. I mean, those kinds of things happen in the Navy, and people who have to serve on
Wesley Crusher could really use it without his mom.
So I just feel like there's way more opportunity for her to be used instead of just being counselor obvious. That's all.
Yeah, and just touching on that end part that we were talking about, and kind of looping back a little bit, when at the end when she says, "I sense the guy's gone" or whatever. And Picard is waiting till the very last second to end the countdown. That felt very much like a Kirk thing to me, not like a Picard thing as much. It felt very much like the script was written for Picard, and they're like, well, it basically works for Picard too. But Picard's never been that kind of guy that's just like wants to be, known
that
as
close to the edge of the line,
super unstable, a total edgelord, and all this. Like, that feels like a Kirk thing, to me.
Well, we identified, the writer strike definitely had an impact on the beginning of this season, so that's one aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure, like you said, they recycled some themes that they were going to originally use in the original series. So this is definitely has that feel to me. And they just kind of changed the names on the characters, but there was there were moments in this. What do you think of that opening fight scene? With
just going to bring that up. I was just looking at that because that, along with this, clearly there was an opening scene. If this was an original series script, there was an opening scene that just doesn't fit, and so they just had to make one up. Because this Riker and Worf opening scene, not only did it was kind of left field. I mean, it's great to throw in these little slice of life things, but the strange part to me was that they cut to a commercial at the end of them. It wasn't like, Riker to the bridge. We've got an anomaly attacking us, and then commercial. It was just like, well, Worf, that was a nice workout. And Worf's like, yeah, I do it even tougher than usually. And it's like, commercial. How's that going to hold your attention? That's not your best opening. You got to have some kind of, twist.
And it had no relation to the rest of the story.
Yeah.
I thought, for example, there was a moment when Riker says, "That's enough, Worf, that's enough." Like, basically like he couldn't turn it off. And I thought that would be a theme that would recycle and find its way back into being a kind of decisive moment type of thing, but it wasn't.
Like when they're together on the away mission, which I think is why they chose those two for the opening scene, is because later on they're on that away mission together, which led us to believe when we see them on the away mission that it's going to come into play. But it didn't. It's just chill. They just transported back. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit more, but let's jump on to our break super quick and then talk about that exciting first scene a bit more, because that is when we do see Riker doing pole dancing. I will die on that hill. He was pole dancing. I saw it.
I got to double check that.
All right, everybody stick around. We will be right back on the seventh rule.